Welcome to Wisdom Within with Tina and Tanya. We are bringing to you today a topic of cord cutting. So make sure you stay tuned. Join us for this full conversation because this is going to be really amazing for you. And we have a new announcement for you. In the description down below, we have our Wisdom Within toolkit. So we are providing a lot of different tools for you to be able to take these conversations to a different level, to a deeper level, and do more practices. So make sure you check that out. It will be in the link in the description. So now, if you are done conforming to others' expectations, you're done suppressing your wants and needs, and you're done feeling like life has no meaning, and you're ready to build a supportive relationship with yourself, you're ready to address resentments and disappointments that come from suppressing those needs and wants that you have, and you're ready to transform your life from the inside out, then you're in the right place. We're going to teach you how to do this using practices that will support you, mind, body, and spirit. So before we jump into the topic of cord cutting, Tina, will you help us set the stage?
Yes. So, I have some sage here. I started out I was going to do Palo Santo, but then we need some sage.
We need some sage. We definitely need the sage.
So, go ahead and close your eyes. Deep breath in and feel your body in the chair. Feel your feet on the floor, your legs, your rear end, your back against the chair. Feel yourself in your body. And imagine that you have a cord coming from the base of your spine, and allow that cord to go down deep into the earth, connecting with Mother Earth's energy and allowing her to help you feel grounded and stable right here and right now. Imagine any energies that you have sent out over the past couple of days or past day. Imagine those energies coming back to you. Anything that needs to come back, allow it to come back. We tend to send out pieces of ourselves, don't we? Allow those pieces to come back. Go ahead and wiggle your fingers and toes and come back and allow yourself to be here.
Yes, thank you. So this topic of cord cutting is fun to me because I have some fun rituals and practices I do to actually cut the cord. So before we get into those, let's talk about what in the heck it is. So the cord cutting that we're going to be talking about today is energetic cords, and it is when there is an invisible cord that's connecting you to someone else. It can be someone close to you, someone very far away from you. It can be someone you don't even know. And I think that's important to bring up because a lot of times for me, those cords have, you've built a connection with someone. There's an energy exchange there. That's very common anytime we have a coworker or a colleague or a friend or a family member, a loved one. We have cords that connect us. It's that spidey sense that you recognize when something's going on with a friend. There's some energy exchange there, and it's coming across sometimes as a cord. But every now and then, those can get too embedded. They can become very draining, especially if that other person is kind of feeding off your energy. It can also be attachments to behavioral thoughts or patterns, um, some belief systems. There can be cords, not just to people, but to organizations that you have belonged to. Really thinking, and it's interesting to me when we think of common phrases like cut ties. That's what we're talking about when people say we need to cut ties with those people, or even passing the torch. I've seen that a lot when people will retire from one work, or they'll slightly change careers or go on a different path, but they keep their foot inside the other one. That's what it looks like, but it's really an energy. It's an energetic cord. Now, it can also be passed down from generations. There can be ancestral cords that we're still carrying. There can be past lives. There can be all kinds of stuff that connects you to other people or other experiences that may not be serving you anymore. And so being able to cut those cords can really be freeing in a lot of ways, to be able to um, really let you just swim and love in your own energy, rather than having those energies of yours continually going out, and or having other people feeding you theirs. So it's a two-way, quite often. And yeah, that's kind of the vision that I have with energetic cords. And really, I like to say, is there something that you're super attached to? It could even be to food, to be honest. You know, if we're I'm an ice cream. I have a cord with ice cream that I am not yet ready to cut completely. But yeah, so it can really kind of be anything that you feel super attached to, or other people. And it can even be people that you don't know, because sometimes other people can attach to you without you even being aware. So, Tina and I are here, we're recording these videos. We're not 100% sure who's watching them. So there can be someone who's watching who attaches to one of us in that way, which is part of the energetic hygiene that we talked about in a couple of episodes. But let's just talk a little bit about cord cutting. So Tina, what are your thoughts with that? Am I kind of on the same page as you with the what the energetic cords are?
Yeah. And I feel I like what I told you earlier today is like I see them as like little almost vines. I can in my mind's eye when you mentioned energetic cords earlier, all I saw was like these little cords that come in and they attach from all over, and they're like um it's kind of like we have that quantum entanglement. I think we talked about that a little bit in one of our other videos, maybe the psychic attack one, but we have that quantum entanglement with each other, and we're all connected. We're all connected, and just like what you said, through video, even through our Facebook pages, through, we're both pretty public in our with our between these videos and our Facebook and Instagram, we're out there, and we can get those attachments that, and so I think you explained it very, very well. So
Have you had cords that you've known of, or what has your experience been, either your own or when you've been doing energy work for others, helping others remove cords? Like, what experiences have you had with cords?
so when I do energy work, I don't see them. It's my, with me, I have a knowing. And so you feel, and yeah, I do feeling too. So feeling and knowing, but you feel that there is something going on. And then I usually will ask, is there something here, or is there this, maybe this person or cord that you need to release or whatever. Um, and for me personally, I have found that I've had cords that you don't think about it. You don't think about how entangled you are with other people until you start feeling. It's like you sometimes you can get, it's similar to the psychic attack that we talked about, where you can start feeling sick, or you can start feeling a little bit off or run down or whatever, and um you realize that these things are other people's, they're not ours. And so I've had experiences with close family that I've had to cut cords with. In my day to day, when I go to bed at night, I ask Michael, Archangel Michael to come in and cut any cords that I may have picked up during the day, because being in the even being at home, I'm still kind of out there. And so I can pick up those cords, or like, you run into somebody, or you go visit with somebody, or you're at a store and you have all these little entanglements that kind of hold us together with these people. And so every night I ask that Archangel Michael will cut the cords, any cords that are not for my highest good. And and then I've done some little rituals. You've shared some rituals with me, and I've done some fun little rituals with cutting cords. So
Hmm. That's, I remember my first experience with ever even hearing about a cord and that someone had a cord connected to me. And I went to an energy healer and she explained that there was an individual in my family who was attached to me. And so, and it was like drawing on my energy, and they were being energized by feeding off of my energy, so to speak.
mm,
Um, and so thankfully, this healer was able to pick it up, knew exactly who it was. She was even able to explain to me who it was, and then just had removed that. Now, it was a close enough person that it didn't stay gone forever. It would come back. And so there needed to be some continual removal from there, especially in the beginning for me, because I didn't really know how to put up my own protections and how to remove that necessarily myself. So that was my very first experience of it. And I remember when she was talking to me, there was something within me that was like, oh, that makes so much sense. But my rational mind was, what the hell are you talking about? This makes no
right.
sense. So it was kind of an inner conflict of like, uh-huh, yeah, whatever, but then like an inner, oh man, that really makes sense. And over time, I got to where I could actually pick them up with that individual. And it was interesting because it would be a couple of days before I could start to sense something was coming with that person. And then and then there would be a text that would come through, or a call, or a situation or something. And it was almost like I knew it was coming. And now I know that was like that cord was coming in and was starting to attach. And so it was just an interesting experience. And when we really start to pay attention to our own energy and start tuning into that wisdom we have within, we can sense it, we can feel it, we have a knowing, and we can learn a little bit more about what to do with it. So, um, I think
It's
that's a
just,
good one that, oh, go ahead.
yeah, it's like with kids, right? So we have those connections with our kids. It's like I know when something's off with one of my kids. It's like this, you feel it, it comes in, and it's like, and so I'm calling them, or I'm waiting for the call. And or or even like if you have a spouse, and you're so connected to that person. I mean, it's like with Joe, I know when he's hurting. I know when things are going on with him. And I mean, we can be driving down the road and I'll be like, "What's up?" And he's just like, "Well, oh, nothing." I'm like, something's going on here. And so, because you're so connected. That's kind of how I see those chords, is, that it's similar to that. So then, how all, so maybe you can relate a little bit better with that, how we have those connections like that.
Well, and I love that you brought that up because I think it really talks about why they're there. Like they are there to help us connect. We are herd animals as humans. We are meant to have, and truly talk about a beautiful gift. I believe they are beautiful gifts. I believe, with the connection that we have with our kids, with our partners, with our very good friends, there are so many things there that these bring us beautiful gifts. It's an energy exchange, right? There's a beauty on working with a team because we're able to share gifts working with a team. And if you notice, most of us, many of us, when we're on a team, we actually have more energy. We can, not always, but quite often, get more done because we're connected energetically to even that workplace team. which is nice if you're all healthy. When there's one black sheep, it's not always helpful. But
Right.
um, but you get the idea and the concept of the beauty of that. And then even with uh attachment to things or places, or there's things that we feel just so strongly attached to, maybe another country, an ancestral place that we just really want to go visit. There's a cord, there's an energy there that's really beautiful, that's drawing us, pulling us, helping us find that path. We can actually have that energetic connection to our life purpose. So there's so much beauty in these energetic connections and even chords. But there can also be a downside to that. And that's when we want to bring in the practices of cord cutting. So, one thing I like to emphasize is if it's serving you, not like I don't want to be stealing all of your energy, Tina. So that would not necessarily be serving either of us. But if it's a if it's a healthy friendship or good relationship or something like that that's mutually beneficial, then those cords are going to stay. And you're not necessarily going to cut those, but there can be topics that you can cut within a conversation or even a good friendship or whatever. But you're like, okay, we're not going to keep talking about that. We're not gossiping anymore. We're cutting that cord of gossip or
Mhm.
whatever it may be. So there's a variety of ways and a depth that you can do to cord cutting too, which I think is beautiful because then you're not sitting here thinking, maybe I don't want to bring up this topic or I want to set some boundaries with my kids. I don't want to cut them completely out, right? So you can you get to control it in whatever way you want, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I like that. I like that. With the boundary, because it is kind of creating a boundary, right? When we're cutting those cords, that's kind of basically what it is creating that boundary. It's like, okay, you don't get to be in my attached to me any longer, or we don't get to attach to this conversation any longer, or we don't get to, and so it does set up those boundaries. So,
mhm. And I think it's important to recognize your own, because we'll give practices. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but recognizing where you need to really kind of set your own boundary or cut your own cord. So, for example, my oldest son, he's got a fifth line in his human design profile, and it is really he has the solutions. He just is a born fixer, and not necessarily like fixer of people, but he literally has the solutions. And so I recognized, and he kind of gently ish pointed out to me at one point that I was bringing too much to him. And I didn't even realize what I was doing because there's that natural energy that he has of bring me your problems. I know how to help you solve them. Like he just energetically has that. So here I am just following the energy, right?
mhm,
So I was bringing too much to him and draining too much of his energy, even though it was a natural exchange in that way. And so the awareness comes with, oh, okay, so the cord then can come with, I'm not going to take this topic to him, or I'm not going to, every time we're on the phone, vent or complain or swim in the story of struggle with him because it could be so easy because he does have that energy of I have the solution and I'm like I have a problem. I'm for a solution. So being aware of your own energetic connections and your own where you might be putting a cord into someone is just as important and critical as knowing what you need to remove that's attached to you.
mhm.
Is just another piece of awareness there too.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up, because we do tend to, you know, do those kinds of things unknown to ourselves. A lot of times unconsciously we'll do that, but being aware is really good. I'm glad you brought that up.
Hmm. So, do you have some favorite practices or techniques that you use for cord cutting?
Well, the one that I mentioned about going to bed at night and doing it on a daily basis with Archangel Michael, and just asking him to release any cords that are or cut any cords. So I imagine him coming, I'm laying in bed. I imagine him standing right next to my bed, and he has his sword, and I imagine him taking that sword and just whack, cutting the cords. And so I ask him to cut any cords that aren't for my highest good or for the. And then my favorite one is using two candles and so just a little ritual and writing down those things that I want to release or what cords I'm cutting. I did this recently with some people who were very draining to me and that I just needed to cut out of my life, basically. And so I took two candles and well, at first I journaled and wrote down who these people were and why I wanted to release, what I wanted to release, or, what cords I wanted cut. And then I put that in the little candle holder with the candles, put two candles. And I think a lot of times you use a white and a black. I don't know much about the specifics of all those things. I just had candles. So I had a white candle and I had a purple candle because that's the only colors I had at the time. So one candle represented me and one candle represented them. And I put just a cotton string, tied those together and lit the candles and let them burn down. And then they burnt the cord. And it was a very interesting experience. Because that one was like it went really really good, um and made me realize it was kind of funny because how it works. I think that was probably the first time that I had done a ritual like that, as far as cord cutting, because I've done with Archangel Michael a lot in the just on a daily basis, but for cutting those specific cords like that, I've had some energy work done, but this one was very, very profound for me. And as I'm watching the candles burn, and as I watched how the rope or the string burned down and it came over and it just burnt my candle up, I was like, wow. It was like so indicative of the relationship, and it was like, oh my God. And then what was really funny was this was a candle holder that was like a glass candle holder that was made for burning candles in. And as it got down to the bottom, the glass broke and it just shattered. And I was like, wow, that there was a lot of energy there. And so that one was my first experience with really that that profound experience with releasing those cords. And then I recently did another one with, and I can't remember. This one was for it was more of releasing my some patterns. And so it was very similar to that one. And it wasn't as profound, but it was cool because you set them, put the two candles and the string, and then I did that. And then when I had the psychic attack one, that was another cord that I cut. And the way I did it with fire too. To me, I feel like fire is like the most powerful tool you can use as far as burning those up. And so I use that even in my meditations or when I'm releasing things, is I use fire a lot. And like when I'm clearing energy. So when I do an energy work, a lot of times I'll use that energy and send it off to the sun to burn off, or I'll pull that energy and send it to burn. And so I feel like fire is like very powerful. But anyway, this last one that I did was um, I just took a picture of this person and bound them so that they couldn't. I took a white ribbon, bound them with that white ribbon so they could not attack me any longer, and added some sage and cedar and just to clear all that, and just lit it on fire. And that was a different way of cutting, but besides the candle.
Mhm.
So those were some of my experiences, and they've been fun. It's been interesting working with them with them in that way, because like I said, I had never done that before
Mhm.
previously, other than in energy work or on a daily basis with for myself. So
Mhm. I love that you brought up that it was fun because that's something that I find with it too. And I love it because this topic can be heavy, right? It can
mhm.
be tough, it can be challenging, but we can find fun ways like what you described. I'm a big fan of, I mean, I do the cord cutting with the candles as well. And I do very similar to what you described. And I find that fun. That is part of my, I mean, it's not necessarily like house party at Tanya's house,
Yeah.
type fun. But I definitely like I look forward to those days and sometimes I'll do it on a full moon. That's been fun because I'm using the full moon energy of releasing and helping to like let that go as a way to help remove that energy. But I love fire as well. And as you know, I'm super visual, so I like that one because it's concrete, it's real, it's here. I can
Mhm.
watch the candles burn. And oftentimes I will sometimes I might rage on the page, and then, burn that as well or shred that, or I might just journal about it, or I might just sit and watch the candles burn. I just really try to make it intentional in that moment. But I also use fire in like a meditation. I don't have to be totally in a meditative state. It can almost be just a visualization where I'm imagining that fire and I do that with my clients as well where I'm picturing just like almost like that fire just kind of coming down and following basically in their aura field and just cleansing all the way down and I do that with myself as well. And just bring in Reiki is what I like to do with the holy fire Reiki. I'm bringing in Reiki and I'm just envisioning it, um, the fire just cutting, just burning the cords, but then extending out and burning back so that they can't like be tentacles and reattach in any
Mhm.
way. So I picture not just cutting the cords as it's going down, but also healing the spots where it was attached so that there's no longer like a hook there, like a boat. You go to a boat
Mhm.
ramp and you can hook. I picture that being removed and being healed so that there's no additional spot for them to hook into. Um, and so for me, it can be a very visual representation. I also love, I mean, we're in the year of the dragon right now. So I love this idea and this visualization of dragons coming in and just that dragon fire because you know how it incinerates everything. So just using that fire to just incinerate and burn off those cords that aren't helpful for me anymore. Phoenix energy, I love that as well. And especially if I feel like something's holding me down, then I love to burn that away and then feel myself coming up lighter. So I have a lot, like those are some of the practices I do, really visualization. Um, but you can write it out, you can journal it out. And that's something that I actually tell a lot of my clients is to write it and rage on the page, just everything that you would love to say that you will never say out loud and just write it all down and shred it or burn it. That's another way of even cutting those cords too. It's just putting that intention of those cords being cut.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Like I've used the Phoenix energy too, like standing visualize standing in the middle of the fire and just clearing all of that. And I have also used different um meditations. Like you can find on Insight Timer, you can find different meditations that will help with cord cutting too. And so you can and I've used those as far as um releasing, the cords or whatever. So that's cool. And yeah, writing things down And it's similar to like what we do in our moon circles. So very typically when we do a moon circle, or when I lead a moon circle, we go outside and we will burn the what we want to release from the past moon cycle. And so we'll write down what we want to release, and then we take it to the fire and we burn it. And then we drum and release that. And so it's very similar to that. It's just cutting those, that's basically cutting those cords to those things that we have, been holding on to for that moon cycle or whatever.
Mhm.
So,
And I think it's important to remember you don't always have to know who or what has attached. It can be if you're feeling drained. I feel drained. Okay, you probably are. I mean, you could have
mm,
overextended your own energy, but you could also have that energy could have is going to someone else and they're literally draining you. So um sometimes you may know who that is. And it's been interesting with me as I've done energy sessions with clients. There can be something that comes up about it, and they almost always know who it is.
yeah, yeah,
Um, not always, but quite often they know exactly who it is. And sometimes it's even a family member who's passed on, or, there can be a lot of different types of connections there as well. And the other thing I think is important is y- you do need to give permission for that to be released. And sometimes we're still holding on and we're not ready to release. So, if that is the case, release all that you can, even if you're not able to completely cut the cord. It's kind of like cutting out what is ready to be released, especially if we've got some challenging relationships in there or challenging past experiences. I think it's important, though, to not get stuck on this idea of, I can't let that go. I'm not ready to let that go, because I would be willing to bet that you're ready and can let go at least 90% of it. Maybe there's 1% that you're not ready to, and that will come later. But don't get hung up on it's all or nothing. I think that's
right.
important too, is letting it be what needs to be, letting go what you can, letting those things out, letting those be destroyed and to be removed, even if you're choosing to hang on to a sliver of it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I agree that that's one thing I've noticed with myself when I decided to do these cord cuttings is that it took me a long time to decide, for one, that I needed to release these things in some way. and and then when I realized that it was a cord cutting that needed to happen, then that's what I did. But it took me quite a while to finally be like, okay, I'm done.
Mhm,
And that's it. And
mhm,
I need to, there's my boundary,
mhm,
and I'm cutting that cord. And so it does, sometimes take a while to realize that you are ready. But like what you said, you most of the time, had I um, allowed myself to release some of the things, I probably was ready a long time ago.
mhm. Well, and I think too, we can actually even cut and destroy that cord
Mhm,
and still work on our own healing.
mhm,
So, even if you know that maybe you have some healing to do around this relationship, cutting the cord will allow that to, so that there's not a continual connection or continual drain. It's like it's setting that boundary again, that firm boundary, cutting that cord so that you can progress on your healing, so that there's not that
right,
continual um there's just no energy exchange. It's energy that's cut, it's done, it's cleared, I'm out. But that doesn't necessarily mean I don't still have some healing work to do around that.
mhm,
And it also doesn't mean that, especially if you have someone who has treated you poorly or there's been some trauma involved, it doesn't mean that because you cut the cord, you forget and forgive. Like that doesn't have to be part of it. It is simply cutting the energetic connection so that you can actually go do the work that you need to do for healing or whatnot. And I think sometimes there's some thoughts in there, or false beliefs or whatever, that you have to be able to be ready to forgive that person if you're going to cut the cord, or that you have to be ready to, something, it has to be okay. No, 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 no. No. Cut the cord, if and then be able to do the healing, be able to work through that process for you. So I think that's important for people to remember as well, because a lot of times the I'm not ready comes with a false belief that it makes what they did to me okay, or something along those lines, where it's like, no, that's a completely separate issue. Go ahead and
Right.
cut the cord. You can work on those things, do your own healing without them having that direct access to you anymore, too.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. That's a good point to bring up. And yeah, I have nothing else. So. My brain was going off somewhere else. So I was like,
Like,
bring
I'm
it
just
back.
gonna run with it and go. Um, I think too, when we're talking, people people are here to teach us lessons. They are here to mirror things for us. So I think it is important to learn the lesson from it, to deep dive on it. But I also believe that you can do that without giving them your energy, without them, because sometimes people just, you have amazing energy, you feel so great, and people feel so good when they're with you, and they just want to carry that little piece of you everywhere they go, because you're that light in the dark, that candle, and they just want to have that. And it's not always that they're attacking, it's not necessarily always in that way, but it's just recognizing that, that's going. And so sometimes when I have clients who are experiencing chronic fatigue, that's one of the, I'm like, where do we have cords? Where do we need,
Mhm.
like, yes, there absolutely can be physical aspects to that, of course. There can be nutrition aspects, there can be movement aspects, there can be all of those things. There can also be that energetic piece of what's draining you.
Yeah.
Is it a job that's draining you? Is it a
Right.
person that's draining you? Is it a belief that you're trying to, these unrealistic expectations that you're that are draining you? All of those can be energetic cords that can be cut.
That's true. I as were talking about that, I was thinking about how yeah, we do, and we hold on to them, right? We It's like we all of a sudden claim it as ours instead of looking at. I was just thinking about that as you were talking, because I have been feeling drained recently, and I'm like, oh crap, I need to cut some cords, because um there must be something somewhere. I had an energy worker tell me exactly what you were talking about. And it was actually my first energetic session, or my first energy session that I ever had. And she told me, Tina, your energy is the kind of energy that people, when you walk by them, they want a piece of that, and they will take that energy from you. And she said, you, because of that, it's just how you are. You just let it, you give it out to everybody. And I had never even thought about that. And I was always feeling drained. And then when I learned how to do my protecting myself, it was less, but it's still, I find myself in that situation an awful lot. And as you're saying all this, I'm like, I got little light bulbs blinking off in my head. And now, oh, it's time to do another cutting here, because
Mhm.
I've been feeling pretty drained recently. And so it's like, huh, okay.
Well, and I think I love the image of a backpack as well,
Hmm.
because um think about if you're going hiking with five people, and everybody's going to give you their brick, right? You
Hmm.
carry my brick, you've got the backpack. Well, just
Right.
because you have the backpack and you have the tools does not mean that you need to carry their brick up this trail. And So before you know it, you've got 5 bricks in your backpack and you're the only one carrying it and everybody feels amazing. They're like, "This
Right.
is awesome. I feel great. I could do this all day." And we're over here struggling up the hill because we're carrying everybody's, and we forget that all we need to do is take off the backpack and be
Hmm.
like, "Screw it. I'm out.
Yeah.
Carry your own or be gone. I'm done, actually. I'm
Right.
leaving." So like for me, that's part of it too, is understanding how other people, and it's not necessarily them being rude. Most of this is completely unconscious. It is just recognizing, first of all, we are consenting to carry that weight for them. In order for them to
Hmm.
put it in our backpack, we had it open. We said, "Yes, I got it for you." And when we are over giving, when we're caretakers, when we're like, yes, let me help you in whatever way, and I'm going to carry it for you, when in reality we can help them release it instead. Like, no, I'm not going to
Hmm.
carry it for you, but let's let it go. Like, let me help you release that, or teaching them some of it, helping them work through it. And even just the simple saying no will require them to carry their own weight. There again,
Right.
it's another phrase that we use very routinely in every day. And that's part of what that means. Pull your own weight, carry your own weight. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily do the tasks throughout the day. It is literally you are responsible for your own energy. Take
Yep.
it.
Yep. And that is a good example because I remember when my dad passed away, I carried all of I tried to carry all of the pain for everybody. So anytime my siblings were struggling or whatever, I'm pulling that in and I was carrying it. It made me sick. And
Mm,
I was sick and I'm still trying to recover. I mean, he's passed 6 years now, and I'm still trying to recover from it because I pulled all of that in.
mhm,
And that was just me being that, myself wanting to take care of everybody when in reality I needed to say no. And then I learned later, and this was right, I had taken my first energy class right before he passed away. So I was still learning about um, energies and how it worked and all of that. And once I realized that's what I had done, um, I learned to block that energy, and then I had to cut some cords there, and I'm still trying to heal myself from trying to take on all of that. And so, yeah, it's similar to the psychic attack video that we did earlier. Is we are offering that consent in one way or another. So when we're allowing those people to connect those cords to us, we're offering consent by allowing.
mhm,
And, a lot of times it's unconscious. Most of the time it's unconscious.
mhm,
Um, but when we figure it out that there are cords cut, or are cords attached, then it's our responsibility to start releasing that and putting up that boundary and being like, we're not allowing this any longer.
mhm.
And
Like
yeah,
staking
go
that
ahead.
claim.
Yep.
Like,
Yep. Like what
and
you say
done.
with Archangel Michael,
Mhm.
taking the sword.
Yep. Yep. Not gonna pass anymore.
Right.
One thing that I thought of with that as you were talking about it, and after your dad passed and you were taking all of that on, and it reminded me of clients that I work with when there's weight loss resistance, or rapid weight gain or weight gain in general. And much of that, when we start looking about where did it start, what happened, what shifted,
Yep.
there's usually a shift. I know for me, when my dad passed, all of my healthy habits stopped. I was picking other things up, taking on more responsibility, but also an energy. And so when we start picking up more and more people's energy, what happens? We have to have a place to store that within our body. Our body can expand to be able to explore more. Now, you can cut all the cords. It doesn't mean that you're going to shrink overnight, right? Because
Hmm.
we still have nutrition to look at, we still have movement to look at, we still have health issues to look at. But those things are not going to clear up if you're going to continue carrying everyone else's energy and not cutting some cords and not being willing to release that. So I think that's important because you can eat perfectly, you can exercise quite well, you can do all the things that they say to do, but if you're still carrying everybody's backpack, it's not going to come off, at least not
Right.
the way that we're hoping to, right?
Right.
So for me, this is why it's mind, body, spirit that connects everything together. You can't achieve that full wellness without cutting those cords as
All of it.
well.
Yeah. And that's so true. And I found that myself. I gained all the weight after my dad. Well, I gained a bunch of weight after my dad passed away. And
Mhm.
I still haven't released it because I'm still holding something there, you know. And it is it you hit the nail on the head with that one because it is so, mind, body, spirit. It is all connected, and it is all some you can't do one without doing the others. You have to, because like right now I'm walking, I'm eating right, and energetically I'm still holding something right there. And so
Mhm.
and as energy workers, there are a lot of us energy workers that carry a lot of weight in the belly because we do hold on to things for other people, and we tend to there are many of us that take on that energy when we're working with others or whatever, and we don't fully release them. And so that kind of is definitely a I don't want to say issue, but it is something that energy workers tend to do.
And at
Is
least
we
need
tend
to
to,
pay attention to is just that
yeah,
too, I think.
yeah.
And it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I think that's
Mhm.
important as well. Like, I know for me, if I try to do everything all at once, I will fail. So I'm
Mhm.
starting with moving my body again. I'm getting back into the exercise. I know myself, my next progression will be eating better. But if I try to do it all at once, so I'm always doing the
Exactly.
energy releasing. That's
Yeah.
one thing that I do daily. Still have some work to do there, but that's something I do daily. But now I'm adding in the physical exercise. Then I'm going to be adding in the food and all of those things.
Mhm.
So they don't have to come all at once, but it is
Yeah.
important to do all.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and that also makes me think about when you're cutting a cord with a behavior or a thought pattern, that's important too, and possibly even with people as well, but specifically for me, it comes up more when I'm trying to cut a behavior pattern or a thought pattern, is that I need to replace something else there. It's almost like, okay, if I'm not going to be doing this behavior anymore, then I don't know what to do here.
Yeah.
So creating new behavioral patterns that are healthy, that are more supportive for you, that align with what you want to do and achieve and receive will be important as well, especially so if you're cutting that lack of motivation cord, that or even like the I'm cutting the struggle. I'm cutting the cord of the struggle of movement, or the hitting snooze and not getting out of bed and then I don't have time to exercise. Like whatever it is that you're cutting, whatever that behavior pattern is, find something to replace it with. This is similar to um, habit shifts, right? Similar idea, but if you're struggling to break a habit or form a new habit, there's potentially, most likely, a connection, an energetic connection to the old one.
Mhm.
So,
That's true.
cutting that cord and then really bringing yourself into an energetic alignment with the new activity is going to be really important.
Yeah. And like you said, just making sure that you're filling it with something positive. So don't fill it with another negative action or whatever, habit. Fill it with
Right.
something positive.
Right. I'm no
Fill
longer
it
hitting
with
snooze, but now I'm going to troll on Facebook for an
exactly.
hour.
Exactly.
Not helpful. Exactly.
Right. So make sure that it is a positive one. It's kind of like even like when we're releasing. I mean, that's what we're doing. That's what the cord cutting is releasing. So when we're releasing these things, we want to, like when you do a meditation, you're releasing and you're letting go of these things that you want to release. But then you also need to bring whatever that you want to bring in. So bring love in, or bring, any kind of gratitude, anything that's going to fill that, because we leave a little void when we release those things. So if we can fill that void with something more positive, that's going to help us to um, actually release it, because sometimes we'll release it, but then it's, the
We
next day
take it
it's right
back.
back. Or,
Uh-huh.
yeah, because we didn't fully release it and fill up with something that was, a positive thing that we could um, fill that void up with.
Mhm.
So,
I think that's one reason I really do like the candle cord cutting, letting both of them,
mhm,
because as it's burning, I'm typically like I'm a writer, so I love to journal.
mhm,
So I'm journaling what I'm releasing, journaling what that is, what's going, and I like to let them burn all the way out.
mhm.
Um, Depending on the size of the candle, that may or may not work that day, but that is my intention when I sit down
Mhm,
to do it, is to burn it all the way out. And then, but then I'm also looking at what will having this release, no longer carrying this backpack, no longer being attached, no longer having this drain, what will I do with myself now? And
mhm.
this is where it gets to be really fun, because it's like, ooh, what will I do with myself now? Like, what am I going to do? And we get to let this be exciting. We get to let this be, do I want to learn how to use tarot cards? Do I want to learn or just start reading a book? Do I want to learn something new? Do I want to find a new hobby, meet a new friend, create new relationships, like whatever it may be? um, that kind of opens that space. So have fun with it, creative with it, so that you have something to raise that energy as well, which is the spirit of play, right? Find
Right,
something
right,
playful
right.
and let yourself and your creativity come in and play with, now what?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And definitely make it fun, because just like what you said with the creating or doing the it was fun to me too. Just doing those little rituals and just sitting down and writing out what I want to release, and journaling about, like you said, um what I want to bring in, and what this looks like now that I'm releasing, and all those things. Or um visualizing as you're releasing what my life's going to look like now, all those fun little things bring that you can bring in with your imagination, or however you want to do it. And even with the cord cutting, it can be as simple as going into the shower. And I've seen, I actually had a guy do a cord cutting on me at a at a like a vendor event, and what they did was they just kind of right in front of you did this, something like this, a chopping motion, right in front of your belly and whatever. And so I kind of play with that in the shower sometimes. It's like, okay, I want to release all of the what doesn't serve me right now, and just kind of go that way with it, where it's just generic, but it's what doesn't serve me for my highest good. And I just, you know, in the shower, and let it wash down the drain. And so there are just, fun ways that you can play with the different types of releasing. And I know there's, like, you have all kinds of different little rituals that are, because I think I asked you for some at one point, and you sent me like
Like
three or
10.
four different.
Like,
And
here.
I'm like, no, I want to try the candle one.
I know. I'm like,
But
oh,
there are all
this is my
kinds of,
playground.
yeah. But there are all kinds of different techniques that you can use, and some of them will be for big things, some of them will be for the you know releasing big cords or cords that are really holding on to you. And then some of them will be for releasing, like, like I said, that nightly ritual of just releasing what no longer serves me. And it's a cutting those cords of what maybe I picked up, during the day,
Mhm.
and that don't serve me at all. And so there can be all kinds of different little fun techniques and fun ways, from meditation to, burning shit,
Mhm.
so
Do those outside. I
yeah,
did
do
that
there.
one that scared the crap out of me. I mean, it was
Yeah,
safe. It was in my house. Everything was safe, but the flame was so big it
yeah,
scared
that's
me. So
that's
after
how
that,
the
I'm
one.
like, I have a concrete slab outside. That is my
uh,
new dedicated space for the candle cord cutting, just
yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
mine's
intense.
gonna be in my fire pit, because yeah,
Mhm.
I burnt my little table. I had a table in here, and I did it, and Joe was like, what the heck are you trying to burn the house?
Yeah.
and,
Lesson
and
learned.
then my candle, because my candle broke, or my candle holder broke. So yeah, after that, it's like, we're doing it outside in the, in
The
the
adventures of Tanya and Tina, right? We're
yeah,
always like,
right.
oh my gosh, you won't guess what happened.
Yep.
But I do love what you said, and I think that I liked if it's a big issue, I like to do something bigger, but sometimes I just like the ritual. That is me. I love the ritual. But I've also had very quick moments, and I love to snap because that's how quick it is, where I'm thinking, like I have a thought going through my mind and I'm like, "Oh, no. I am not
Mhm.
subscribing to that belief system. Be gone." Like it's just I
Right.
use snaps quite a bit just because I I don't know, that's one of my things is I just snap where I'm like, "Be gone, get, shoo," and
Mhm.
so it can be that quick, and that especially if it's like a thought or someone else's ideas that are coming into your mind, and because we can attach to those incredibly easy, especially if you have an open ajna in your human design. It's just so easy for us to attach to other people's thought patterns, belief, and behavior patterns. And so if you recognize that's going on in your head and just be like, I absolutely do not want that. That's a cord cutting,
Mhm.
that's setting that boundary. That's you saying, yeah, no, I'm not doing it. But you have to be aware of what's going on in your mind and paying attention to in those moments to be able to be like, unsubscribe. No, not doing that, you know?
Right. Right.
So that one, it can be very quick and very simple. And I think that even bigger chords could be done with that because it's the conviction behind it, right? When I have those thoughts, I'm like, no. And there is conviction. There is absolutely no, which can be just as powerful in that split second as the candles.
Mhm.
So there's no right or wrong way. And I really love don't put a rule on it and
Right.
let it be yours. I love not saying do step one. Here's the 5 steps that will get like,
Exactly.
no,
No.
do
No.
you do 2 steps, do 1 step, do 20 steps, whatever feels right to you, let it be your practice and create your own or let it be different every time. But just do the practice of cutting the cords.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. And I loved what you said about, it can be just as simple as, nope, I'm done. And that's it, you know, and it can be that simple. But if you're one that, that likes the rituals or whatever, do that,
Mhm.
and have fun with it, and clear, I recommend doing it on a daily basis, though. I think I really like the nighttime, just kind of clearing your energy at night before you go to bed, just kind of help you. It helps me sleep better and whatever. And so I like doing that. But I mean, that's me. And so,
Mhm.
I mean, if you find a technique that you like to do every day, I think that would be fun,
Mhm.
figure what works for you,
Mm.
but be aware that we have all of these things coming in all the time. If you work in the public, you're constantly bombarded. If you're Yeah, I mean, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on TikTok, all of the things, and we're on YouTube today. I mean, it's like we have all of these ways that we're connecting with others, and all of these ways that there could potentially be cords coming in that could not be for your highest good. So
Hmm. I
just
love
being
it.
aware.
I love
Yeah.
it. Do you have any other thoughts on this, or do you feel like we've covered it?
I think we've covered it.
I
I
think
know
we've
we can
covered it.
talk for hours
I
on these things, so
I know. I'm like, oh, I love it. So I do want to remind our listeners that we have the Wisdom Within toolkit. So if you want to dive more into this, go deeper into a variety of topics that we have, make sure you check the description below and grab that because there's a link in there for you to get the toolkit. So if you are ready for a deeper dive, check down there. Otherwise,
yeah,
please like and subscribe to our channel. Help us share the message. The more you interact with us, the more the YouTube gods like us and share us with other people. So please interact and let us know how this serves you and which of these practices you are going to try. Um, and then are you ready to close the space for us?
sure. Okay, take a deep breath in. Close your eyes. We're going to pull back our energies again, allowing all those parts of us that we have sent out today to come back. Feeling our feet on the ground, our legs, our knees, thighs, bend to the hips and sit bones, to your back, lower back, belly, feeling the heaviness of your body in the chair, up to your upper back and chest, shoulders, arms, wiggle your fingers, feeling your neck, your head, allowing yourself to just come fully back into your body, grounding into what we discussed today. And go ahead and open your eyes.
Thank you.
Uh,
Feels good.
Thank you.
Speaking of cutting some cords and bringing ourselves back, here we go,
All
right?
right.
All right. Thank you again for watching, and we will see you next time.